welcome back to the Hungry Expat Cooking Channel. Being an expat, I left the UK back in 2002, giving my age away now. There were one or two things that I knew I would miss. The main one, besides football and the friends, the family, is chicken Vindaloo. Now obviously coming from Manchester, you've got the famous Curry Mile in Rusholme, etc. I went there occasionally, but one or two other good places as well. And there was one particular place that I went to in a little town called Ashton-under-Lyne. Usually on a Sunday night after we'd had a heavy weekend, me and a few of the lads would go to this place about 11 o'clock in the evening. It was just a little local Indian takeaway in Ashton-under-Lyne. And it had a little seating area with tables where you could also sit and enjoy your curry if you didn't want to take it home. That's what myself and the lads did. As I said, very simple, basic little takeaway. However, I don't know what it was, but he used to serve the curry and all the condiments on like little silver plated tins, and you used to get the noise and the scraping sound, and it was a nice little treat at the end of the weekend. Also, him, the owner or his chef, whichever it was, I don't know, but him or his chef used to have a knack of making the chicken vindaloo not just very spicy but also tasty as well. It's one thing to have a madras and just bang a bit of extra curry powder in, but no, these guys did more than that, and it was a very, very tasty vindaloo. Now, as you've probably seen on other channels, we have what's called BIR style, British Indian restaurant style. So, not necessarily what some people might say authentic, but to me it's the best way of doing these curries. And I'm going to do it BIR style with base gravy, which I'll look into on another program. But if you follow this recipe, trust me, you're in for a great vindaloo. Okay, so let's look at the ingredients. Right, let's get down to the ingredients. 3 filleted chicken breasts. Now, this is going to be a portion, 3 portions. So each filleted breast makes about 5 pieces, which is about right for each portion. So it's going to be a 3-portion curry. Also, you're right, it's not been pre-cooked. I don't think it needs it because nice thin pieces of chicken. It doesn't need pre-cooking because it's in the mix long enough, it's in the cooking process long enough to not need pre-cooking. If you want to pre-cook it, by all means pre-cook it just to be safe, but I don't. The powders. 2 teaspoons of curry powder. Could be Madras curry powder, standard curry powder, whatever you like. And then we have 2 teaspoons of cumin. 1 teaspoon of turmeric. 2 teaspoons of coriander. 1 teaspoon of fenugreek, or what they call methi. Half a teaspoon of powdered cinnamon, just to give it an extra kick, but that's optional. And a couple of teaspoons of sugar, white sugar, brown sugar, whatever you want. Here, 3 teaspoons of hot chili powder. Now, if you're feeling a bit psycho and you want to go even hotter, put 4 in, up to you. Well, there's 3 teaspoons of hot chili powder. 5 or 6 cardamom pods. Now what I do with these, I will break these up and put the pieces in the mix. Otherwise you can cook them within the mix like this and then fish them out at the end. 1 parboiled potato cut into 3 or 4 pieces. Now I parboil these for about 10 minutes. Obviously Vindaloo, aloo means potato, so a lot of people will say a Vindaloo is not a Vindaloo unless you put potato in it. Nothing to lose, I love potato in my curry anyway, so I split these up into the 3 portions of the curry. 1 decent sized tomato, a lime or a lemon. Here we have basically tomato puree, which is homemade. Which if you want to know how to do the homemade puree, let me know and I'll do another program on this. Here garlic and ginger paste, again homemade. Okay, now this is what we call base gravy. Most British Indian restaurants use base gravy in most of the curries. I love base gravy because it's very healthy. It's basically all vegetables made into a curry to accompany your curry in the cooking process. I will do another program on base gravy, my own recipe, but you can't go wrong with this, and it's full of vitamins. Finally, dash of salt. I'm a bit of a salt monster, so don't go putting in as much as me, but during the cooking process, bang a bit of salt in there. Vinegar, which is essential with the lime for the sour flavour. And basically, as I've mentioned already, the olive oil. Feel free, as I said, feel free to use ghee, sunflower oil, whatever you want, but I like to put a bit of healthiness in there and I use olive oil. So that's the ingredients. Let's get started. Right, let's do it. Okay, now as you can see here, we've got the chicken pieces. What I'm going to do now, to me, this is basically the main secret. A bit different to what other people do, but trust me, this works. Now, I'm going to get the vinegar. I'm going to pour some of it into the chicken. Now, don't go crazy on this with vinegar unless you're going to throw what we call the marinade away at the end. I'm not. I'm going to keep the marinade and use it in the cooking. So I've put the vinegar in, just enough to cover the pieces. Remember, there's about 15 pieces there. Now, I'm going to cut a lime. Obviously, you can have a few bits of pips and things like that, but I can just fish them out later. I'm going to squeeze the lime into the vinegar and the chicken. Let me get rid of some of those pips while we're here. Second half of the lime, in she goes. Remember, Vindaloo is a sour curry. Okay, so let's get rid of some of those pips. So we have standard vinegar. You could use malt vinegar, you could use whatever you want. We've poured it in just to come on level with the chicken. We've added the juice of a lime. Now, I'm going to use an extra teaspoon of my ultra hot chili powder. In she goes. Now I'm going to give it all a mix. I mean, it's like a marinade this, obviously. Try and make sure you don't break up those tender pieces of chicken. But just mix it all in well. Trust me, this is the secret to a great Vindaloo. Don't want to let anyone tell you any different. Okay, now, just roughly got the chicken pieces in that mix. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to put this in the fridge to marinate for about 3 hours. I wouldn't go crazy because if you do it for too long, you don't want the chicken to go stringy when you're cooking it. So about 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours in the fridge, not the freezer, in the fridge. I'm just going to stand this in the fridge. Then after 3 hours, we're good to go. Okay. Okay, let's get this Vindaloo on the road. So here we go. Nice generous portion of olive oil there. Gonna let this heat up a little bit. Get it nice and hot in the pan. Got on high heat here, I'm on number 9. Then in a second, when this starts to bubble a little bit, I'm going to add the garlic and ginger paste. So while this is starting to get warm, I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons or dessert spoons of this garlic paste in because I like it and it adds great flavour. Garlic and ginger paste. So they get nice and hot. I'm just going to put a little bit in to test it. Once it starts sizzling, it means it's ready to go. We get in there, can hear that sizzle, good. Okay, so a nice heat dessert spoon, and then another one, and a little bit more for good luck. Okay, now just give it a wad round. Smells good already. Keep stirring because you don't want to burn that garlic. You just want to infuse it nicely into that lovely olive oil. Lovely. Okay, now just wash the spoon. Now I'm going to add the puree. A couple of dessert spoons of puree. Was it round? Don't need to do this for too long, the oil's giving it all a good cooking there. Now I'm going to bring in the chicken. So remember, this is the chicken that's been basically marinated in vinegar and lime juice. I'm going to use the juice as well, it's all going in there. Spread it around nice and gently because you don't want to break these pieces of chicken. Give them a little turn now and again. Give them a nice coating. Turn that down the top. You want it spitting on me. There you go, the chicken's getting a nice cooking already. It's getting a nice coating on the outside already. So it's on the way. Now next we're going to gently add the powders. So first of all I'm going to go in with the chili powder. And nice and gentle, don't break those chicken pieces up. Give it a nice turn round. Then I'm going to go in with the rest of the powders, if you can remember. Coriander powder, cumin, fenugreek, curry powder, black pepper and turmeric, and not to forget the very little half teaspoon of aniseed. So it's going nice and slowly with these. Now this is going to really, oh, I've also put the cardamom seeds in as well. So this is going to get nice and thick now. Next will be the base gravy. But first, let's get these spices working on the chicken. Remember, as I said, be gentle when you're turning that chicken, keep it cooking in it. Spread all that spice and all that chicken around. It's going a good red colour already. A bit longer there. Starting to smell really strong now. Yeah, now the base gravy on the what I've got the side here, It's nice and hot, we don't put it in cold, we heat it. And I'll turn that base gravy off now because it's hot enough. Okay, now in a minute, once these spices have infused a little bit more, I'm going to start adding base gravy. And as you can see, most of the curry's in there now. We've just got the potatoes to go in later, tomatoes, and some coriander for garnish. Fresh coriander if you've got any. But first, let's get this dark mixture infused. Lots of olive oil in this. I quite like oily curries. That's up to you. Put however much oil you think is about right for you. So as you can see, that chicken's getting well cooked already. Okay, now I'm going to go into the base gravy now. I'm going to use the same spoon because I'm going to use all this base gravy for this dish. So take the base gravy, couple of ladles in. Remember, if you want the base gravy nice and hot, I've also added some hot water to the base gravy as well, just to save me adding water as we go. So the base gravy is a little bit thinner than it would be because it's already got the water in. Because remember, we want to cook this chicken down and reduce it, yeah? So let that base gravy incorporate, and then we're going to add a little bit more. Whether you like your curries, especially your Vindaloos, thick or loose consistency, that's up to you. If it's too loose for you, just let it cook down and obviously get thicker. A couple more ladles of base gravy. Help to get that chicken cooked. As you can see, the heat of the base gravy has not lowered the temperature, so the curry is still cooking nicely. Now I'm just going to turn this down a tad. It's just over medium to high heat now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to let this cook down now, and let this chicken cook, and we're going to come back to this in 15 minutes. Now, I'm not just going to leave it for 15 minutes, maybe every 5 minutes I will come, give it a little stir on the edges. You might get caramelised bits around the edges, that's part of the flavour, so if you've got any caramel bits around the edges, incorporate it into the curry. It's all part of the flavour. So a bit later we'll be adding a bit more base gravy as well. So I'm going to leave, so as I say, I'm going to leave this for 15 minutes now. Give it a little stir every 5 minutes or so. So I'll see you back in 15 minutes. Thanks. Okay, welcome back. Now it's been going another 15-20 minutes. As you can see, bits of caramelised parts around the edges. So all good stuff, all adds to the flavour, so bed that in. Still nice and loose. Consistency is still very loose. But that chicken's cooking wonderfully now. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add a final couple of ladles of base gravy. Now, as you can see, nice and loose consistency. We're still going to cook this down. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to add the potatoes, the parboiled potatoes now. I'll just put them in. Again, be careful, just like the chicken, try not to break them because they're all part of the dish. I'm just going to slowly incorporate them in. In a minute you won't know the difference between them and the pieces of chicken. So just be a little bit careful with your stirring, because obviously we don't want them to break up and go mushy. So they're gonna cook now in the dish. So really now, we're not quite ready to add the tomatoes yet. I'm going to give it another 15 minutes now, same as before. Now the potatoes are in, I'm going to give it another 15 minutes to reduce again. And as I said before, every 5 minutes, just come and have a look at it. Give it a bit of a touch around the edge. But don't go stirring it too much, because you want the spices to infuse. So you get some caramelized bits around the edges, that's all good, and just incorporate that into the gravy, into the curry. It's all part of it. So when I come back in 15 minutes, we'll add the tomatoes, and then when we serve it, we'll finish off with the garnish. So I'll see you back here in another 15 minutes. Thanks. Right then, as you can see, a lot thicker consistency now. Now remember, if you don't like it too thick, all you got to do, just put some hot water in there and it'll reduce it down again. That's all you have to do. Put the hot water in, let it cook in with the curry, and voila. This is about just how I like it. Now what we're going to do now is, got a few pieces of tomato we're going to put in, more or less the final stage. I'm just going to mix these in for maybe the next 5 minutes. So really, once this is done, how long has it been cooking for? Something like 45 minutes. Now, I've probably mentioned this before, but I seldom eat a curry the same day I make it. If you let this settle, perhaps put it into your 3 portions in your containers or whatever, either put it in the freezer or put it in the fridge for a day, it'll taste about 30% better if you leave it. I don't know what it is, it's chili con carnes, curries, even sandwiches sometimes. If you leave them for the spices to infuse, they will be even better. So it'll be okay to eat now, be good to eat now, but if you can leave it, you can resist the temptation to eat it now, believe me, it's worth the wait. I freeze mine, and probably sometimes get a portion out 2 or 3 weeks later, let it defrost, heat it up again on the ring, which is all you do, and it tastes amazing. So remember, you don't have to eat this all at once. Okay, so we're just gonna give that another 5 minutes and then I'll plate up. See you soon. Okay, so we're ready now. We're ready to plate up. Now remember, 3 portions here. That's why it looks crowded, the pan. There's 3 portions here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take it over. I'm going to bring the curry dish out, and I'm going to plate up. Put it on the ring to keep it nice and hot. We get a nice piece of potato in there as well. Maybe just a bit more juice, a bit more curry I should say. And to finish off, some nice coriander garnish. And there we have chicken Vindaloo. Hope you enjoy it.